Welcome to Make Your Remarkable, the podcast where banking meets inspiration. Here, we share stories that spark new ideas, open doors, and remind us what's possible when passion meets purpose. Each week, you'll hear from remarkable guests, leaders, dreamers, doers, and difference makers, who bring fresh perspectives on leadership and culture, community connections, and the path to financial success. Wherever you are on your journey, their stories will encourage you to think bigger, live bolder, and make your own remarkable. So let's dive in. It's time to make your remarkable.
I'm Neil Stevens, and I'm here today with Philip Bernardi, our Chief Banking Officer at Oconee State Bank, who heads up all the sales for our bank and heads up mortgage and SBA and marketing and a number of other things. Also, Charlie Fleming, who is our Remarkable Mortgage President. Guys, how are y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Doing well?
Doing great.
So, Philip, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I know since we've known each other, you've been intimately involved in the community. I mean, at community events, you're always on the go. You always got something. Seems like every night there's a community event you're heading to. What gave you the passion for the community as much as you have? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when my wife and I moved back about 9 years ago, we had the opportunity to say, where's a place that we can work, play, and raise a family? And we were committed to not necessarily just working in a community and then leaving and going to the next place or going to sleep in another house. So we really wanted to be able to live, work, and play all in one spot. And we made a commitment to each other. When your wife's the chamber president and you're a community banker, it's always entertaining to go to the Publix on a Friday afternoon and get groceries because you know everybody. But that is really the cool and special part about being engaged in the community. And more importantly, as a community banker, being able to take advantage of the impact you're making in the place where you live, work, and play has been really, really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool because, this podcast that we're doing is all about make you remarkable. And community involvement's a big part of that. In fact, that's one of our values. The vision of our bank is to be essential to the lives and businesses and communities we serve. And the mission and how we're going to accomplish that is to create remarkable experiences that significantly mark the lives of others. And we have 7 values that back that up. And so community is one of those 7 values, which is really important, and one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast. So that's great, and it's giving back too, right?
It is. It's really when you align with our foundation at the bank as well, it's really cool to be able to see the impact that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, impacting the lives of others, and ultimately community is a big aspect of that. And I know when we talk about community, it's not only the nonprofit community, but it's our employees' passions and aligning our employees' passions, because if you do that enough times, it becomes remarkable for both the community members, for our team members, as well as everybody involved with the bank. And it's been really cool, Neil, along the way to see, alongside of you, known you for over 15 years, and to be able to see some of those lessons being impacted when you talk about our mission, vision, and values as a bank, how everything rises and falls on leadership. And you've been such an inspiration for, I know me, and I know Charlie as well. But talk a little bit about the leadership that you've had and leading Life on Life and the impact that has to give me the opportunity to impact our community, which I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I had so many people early in my career that took time to invest in me. And it really made a difference because I look back, I can tell several stories. I remember one guy named Lawson Forrester who just made a big difference in my life. And I thought, if I have the opportunity to lead, I want to do my best to be a good steward, which is another one of our values, a good steward of giving back what I've learned to other people to help them become better leaders. And we all make mistakes. I make mistakes every day, but I'm passionate because I feel that by investing there, that it's a chance to leave a mark and a legacy. No one will typically remember what the ROA was at a given year. They're not going to remember necessarily 20 years from now how many mortgage loans we close in 2025. As important as that is, that's not what's remembered. What's remembered is how your leader and how those that you surround yourself with, how they made you feel, and the impact they had on your life. And so that's why I'm very much passionate about the topic of leadership, and I'm excited about diving in. We have some incredible leaders coming on this show later in the episodes, and I'm excited about them. They're going to be talking about, what they've done and the people that has impacted their lives. So very excited about that. So
fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of leaders, you both are great leaders in your own right. And Charlie, you've built a great mortgage company here, Remarkable Mortgage. I can remember when we started that a few years back, and we were just getting started trying to figure it all out. And you built quite a team. Talk a little bit about the mortgage company and specifically how you help those who are looking to buy a house, and then those who may be in the real estate area of agents and things, and how you impact them.
Yeah, I feel like we have a very unique dynamic. That Remarkable Mortgage is fueled and empowered by the bank, but we have that autonomy to run really fast. And we joke and say that we're like the cowboys of the real estate world, and we move so fast, but we're also have a dynamic and pretty powerful, I think, partnership. And I know that when I came, with the vision and we were aligned on that to say, hey, we want to, create something special and create something pretty like dynamic in the community. And I mean, we've, the numbers speak for themselves. We've grown a lot. And, I feel like having a very predictable process has been really important to us. And then also, aligning with the bank and creating really powerful products and being involved in the community. It's been really fun to see, I think. And I mean, speaking of community, I know we talked on, this a little bit, but how do you, Philip, engage with our team members, or how do you help them or empower them to be involved in the community as well, if that they're passionate about or that they feel strongly about? How would how do we do that at the bank?
Yeah, so kind of like you do, Charlie, in your world with empowering your loan officers to give them the tools to be successful. The real benefit for us is really strong, as Neil mentioned early on, aligning with our values. And our values are our non-negotiable guardrails as an organization. And one of those is community. So if you're not engaged in the community, you're violating our values. And we as an organization have said early on that our values are non-negotiable. And so not only that, though, we give our team a lot of autonomy. Our other value solutions, Neil, is where you really focus on putting the decision maker closest to the customer. And by empowering our team to find whatever that community involvement is that they're passionate about, it's going to allow the bank to live out our mission, vision, and values to be essential partner to those community members. Our team members, when you look through and see the diversity of groups they're a part of, there's people that are passionate about pets. There's people that are passionate about people of all abilities. And it's really cool to be able to be a engine that comes behind them, that allows them to pour into the community. And ultimately, when they're passionate about the bank, passionate about an organization within the community, it benefits everyone around, and that's how we become essential. And it gets back to that essential piece.
Essential and marking the lives of others, right? And so you've marked the lives of others by your community involvement. You get, Charlie, a tremendous opportunity to mark lives through home ownership. I mean, in banking in general we do, but when someone's buying a home, particularly for a first-time home buyer, I mean, it's a big decision. And the way you handle it, you have a chance to mark their lives in a way that maybe they don't want it to be marked that way, or you get the chance to really make a positive difference.
It's not stressful.
It's
not
no
emotional.
Stress at all, right?
Yeah.
And so not all those deals come sometimes you're in the 11th hour. What do you do specifically to mark lives of those that are buying a house?
Yeah, it's a great question. We always say that we want to be remembered in the process. I've started to do this when I meet people for the first time, or they talk about buying a home. And a couple years ago, I always ask, like, who was your agent, or who was your mortgage lender? And some of the times I'm looking to see if those names are remembered, because when someone says, hey, I mean, there's no better feeling than a client who closed 5 years ago calls me and says, hey, you helped us in COVID in 2020. Can we'd love to start back up with you. And so I think communicating well, closing on time, and then doing what we say we're going to do, I think can really make us memorable. And that's the definition of remarkable, is like worthy of attention. And we do things, throughout the process that, we call like creating magic. So we've discussed this before, but, one thing that we love doing is if we realize that, you have a kid under 5 years old or 10 years old, and moving is very stressful. Finding like the boxes and gathering up everything. If you have a kid under 10, we will, during the pre-approval stage, we'll send them a Bernstein Bears moving day book and like FedEx that to them, because if we feel that, hey, if we can like make it easier for you emotionally, right? That's something like, wow, you're taking care of my kids, like or my pets. I will like remember that name. And then also, we're going to be there for you on your we're sending you a happy birthday card. We're like wishing you happy anniversary, so, cause those are a very big deal. I think like those moments of buying a home. And sometimes too, what, in our process of figuring out, where we want to be memorable, we always feel like the last 7 days of the mortgage process are very, like you can have 21 days of awesome customer service, but if you mess up at the end, that's what people like, they don't forget that. They don't forget that. So our processes and procedures to make sure that is like as smooth as butter. And then, we want, when people come to a table like this and they're buying the home, we don't want a sigh of relief. We want a celebration, and a sigh of relief, like, oh my gosh, we finally made it. Like, we don't want our clients feeling like that. We want them to be like, I cannot wait for those keys, but building little small magical moments up until that point.
Well, yeah, and I think about those magical moments, and I think of the word milestone moments. They're things that you'll always remember, right? I mean, your wedding day, your first car, buying a home is something that you will always remember, and so it's like this precious time that you have to really make something special of it. And that's really impressive how Remarkable does that, which is why we want the name Remarkable Mortgage to be a remarkable experience. Philip, community is such a powerful thing. We talk about that a lot within our bank, but within, you think about just groups outside the bank, community groups, whatever it may be. I mean, I think we're built for community. It's so powerful. How do you find community? If you would kind of look at the definition of it. I mean, I know it's certainly involvement in going to, after hours events and getting to know the people of our community, but expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah. So, it's funny. It's when you're a young professional and you're starting off in your career, you're doing every networking event, and it's how do I surround myself not with my college friends, but my professional colleagues and associates, and you're trying to find what that looks like and trying to find your place there. As you get older, then you surround yourself communities, your children's friends, and like Charlie was saying, and you move to a new area, the easiest way to gravitate is your children's friends and the parents of them, and that becomes your community. And then of course you always have your church community and community involvement in terms of giving back, nonprofits. A lot of times we associate though community with geography, Neil, and I really don't think, at least at the bank, our community is necessarily geographic bound. Of course, that plays into it, but it's really where you surround yourself and you build a life in that area. And again, could be geographically driven, sure, the bounds of a community, but also who you surround yourself, and that community is a reflection of what's important to you and where you spend your time. That's a reflection of what community is really important to you, and that's where we try to align our family values with our corporate values, and that's really when you see the magic happen and the momentum going. And it's funny too, because at the bank, when we talk about leadership is so fun to see our leaders pour into communities that are important to them and the diversity in those communities. And I know Charlie said something really interesting, and you've always said this about the experience. Talk a little bit about, from a leadership perspective, Neil, about how, from an employee perspective, you've given a lot of opportunity and autonomy to the team to find that place, that community is important because of not only what it does for the individual, but how it advances the cause of the bank and empowering our leaders to be able to find that space.
Yeah. Before I answer that, I want to go back to something you said that really resonated with me, and that's that community is not limited by geography. I was asked a number of years ago, I was trying to decide where to move, where to live. This was early in my career. And a good mentor of mine, a good friend said, it doesn't matter. Nashville, that's a cool place. Greenville, all these places sound really cool. You can move there, and within a period of time, that's going to get old. I mean, the shine's not going to always last. It's like a new car. The new car smell eventually wears out. But it's about those people that you're surrounded with. And if family is important to you and, you got those great relationships and you want to be close to family, I mean, that could be your community regardless of where it is geography-wise. And I've always remembered that, so I thought that was really good. Yeah, we believe here that given autonomy and being decentralized is very important. I was just recently talking to some investment bankers about a book called The Outsiders, and one of the ways that very successful companies, they studied several successful companies that had outperformed the stock market and really were kind of the outside and that did things differently. One of the 8 traits was decentralization. And really what that meant was giving the autonomy to the leaders. And I think there, kind of back to your point, Philip, how do we do that? I think number one, you got to have trust. You got to build trust with individuals that you can give that autonomy to. If you don't, for instance, Charlie, you're running Remarkable Mortgage. We just wouldn't throw the keys to anyone. So we trust you. When you trust someone, I think it's a lot easier at that point to say, okay, you take this and run with it because I trust your judgment. And there's a great book out, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, called The Speed of Trust. And when you can trust someone and you're not having to go back and get permission for everything, things move so much faster. But all that has to be built. I think the autonomy and the ability to be decentralized and give the power to those others to create those experiences, you got to trust them first. And that's an important part of it, because if you can't do that, it's hard to just give, that autonomy away.
Yeah. I feel like it also, when you trust your employees, having someone believe in you too, to perform and not be micromanaged. I know personally, like, the belief that you all have in me to go out and crush it, like, just makes my job a whole lot easier.
And more fun.
And more fun, that it's like, hey, yes, like, we believe in you. And that, knowing that there's somebody out there that's like, hey, I trust you, I have confidence in you. It's almost like having like wind in the sails, you know, like of having someone, and your biggest cheerleader too, I think. And because it all ultimately, like, the bedrock of really good leadership is trust. It really is.
I was talking to a leader just recently, and they were talking about the worst thing that you could do as a leader is let panic set in. And you got to trust the process. You got to trust the people around you. And if they see panic in you, they're going to have the feeling that maybe you don't believe in them, which is going to affect how you may perform. And so I think believing in someone, and even sometimes when you're afraid, I mean, I think, all of us sometimes have to say, you got this, Charlie, when in our hearts, it's a hard decision.
Right.
But by giving you that belief, even if you fail, it's okay, because you learn from that and you can come back and make it happen again. But no.
That's a really good point, because I know whenever we have new team members come in, we always challenge them with challenge the process. Find something that, ask questions, because that's how you improve, but you can't be afraid to raise your hand and can't be afraid of what failure looks like, as long as that framework is in place and that autonomy. But it starts with trust in the hiring process.
Has to start with trust. Everything's built on trust.
If you had to give somebody, if a listener was listening and they wanted advice on how to get plugged into the community, they just moved here and they're a young professional, what would be your advice? Where do I start? Where do I go? How do I get plugged in? I just moved from Nashville. I know no one. Where do I go?
So what are you fired up about? What do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? I've always said it's a lot easier to get involved with organizations that you're passionate about. You know, I always say I don't understand some of the parts of the community that are out there. And it's like, you're a music guy, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the music area. You know, I can't play a guitar to save my life, but you're going to naturally gravitate towards those that are more musically inclined and find community around that because you're passionate about it. So if you align your passions, you will find that community. I'm more sports driven, and obviously my kids are involved in sports. So every person I know, I think, is involved in sports through their kids right now. And that's just the season of life that I'm in. But if you find your passions and excitement and you're fired up about it, community comes really easy because you're excited to be there and it's not work. It's, you know, we talk about the chamber. You know, there's people that love going to the chamber, and there's people like, I cannot stand going to introduce myself to somebody. That's okay. You know, that's fine. But if you are passionate about it and surround yourself with like-minded people, it becomes really easy.
So this has been awesome, talking about one of our values of a community and hearing from you, Philip, on the things that we're doing there as an organization. Charlie, the Remarkable Mortgage, what we're doing there, and homeownership and the importance of that. I'm really excited about this podcast series that's coming up because we're going to get an opportunity, all of us, to talk about all this. I get the great privilege to follow my passion and talk to some great leaders on leadership topics. Philip, you're going to have a chance to talk to some community leaders. I already heard some of the ones that you're having on. I'm excited about that. Charlie, talk about what you're excited about. You've got some things coming up from a homeowner perspective and mortgage perspective. So what excites you? Yeah,
our guests that we have coming on are like rock stars. And I'm most excited about, you know, buying a home, as we've talked about this, buying a home is really scary. And it's really the most, in my opinion, it's the most unique transaction because usually when you buy something, it happens very quickly. You get it immediately. You buy the shirt, you buy the car, you're driving off the lot. But in mortgage, when you buy a home, I mean, it could take some time, 3 to 4 weeks. So establishing trust online, first and foremost, is a paradigm shift that homeownership has taken. And so being able to establish trust online so that your phone actually rings and that people can see you, know you, like you, and trust you. I'm excited to hear more about that, how our guests are doing that. How can you make your remarkable without even, you know, meeting somebody? How can you make your remarkable online first so that, you know, you are you're delivering so much value online first and foremost where people can find you. And I think that's going to be pretty powerful. And I'm excited to learn and take that back to our team, especially, you know, for our listeners. And Philip, what about you? And as far as the community goes, and what are you most excited about to kind of have your guests on? And
it's really cool when you get to go and invite somebody. You know, the cool thing at the bank is we have to be all things to everybody, right? Is we have customers coming in on a daily basis that are opening their first checking account, and you're just now 16 years old and so excited about that, coupled with, you know, a customer that remembers the bank when it started 65 years ago. And so we're going to touch on that a little bit, talk a little bit about community being not just geographically bound, but talk about, you know, community and generational differences and talk a little bit about that. So really excited about the guest and that we're going to have, but also talking about the impact that they're making within the communities that they serve. So it's really cool. And then, you know, also on top of that, being able to touch on topics that I think are going to touch every one of our customers. I know with the podcast and how we've originally started it, trying to give information and giving an opportunity for our customers, a little bit of insight of what we do. And there's a lot more to a bank than a mortgage or a checking account. Because if that's all we are, you wonder, we're just like everybody else at that point. And I know, when we talk about the bank, I know leadership, Neil, you talk about everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yes.
And I know you're fired up to talk a lot about that as well.
I am. I'm excited to learn. I mean, honestly, the lineup that we have coming is going to be a great opportunity for me. I just love asking the questions, taking notes and learning, because all of us could always become better leaders just by asking questions, different angles, different industries. So I'm excited about that. We have a great lineup of guests coming on. I think the listeners will gain a lot from tuning in and hearing that. And really all of this goes back to what we're about as an organization. It's our vision, it's our mission, it's our values. It's creating remarkable experiences that mark the lives of others. And when we take it off of ourselves and put it on others, just like the community, just like us leading our people well, and just like us helping someone who's, looking to buy their first home or fifth or sixth home, whatever, we're making it about them. So excited about this, looking forward to it. I've enjoyed having
thank you, Neil.
having
been
this
fun.
opportunity. So looking forward to it. Thank you both for what you're doing for the bank.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Make Your Remarkable. If you enjoyed the conversation, leave us a review, share it with a friend, or follow us on social media at Oconee State Bank and at remarkable_mortgage for more remarkable insights. And remember, at the heart of every journey, it's not about the process. It's about the purpose you're building, one bold step at a time. Until next time, keep making your remarkable.